You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Shandak. Featured columnist Jade Billstein is with me today on CYInterview. We welcome magician, Las Vegas entertainer, the one and only Chloe Crawford. You can check out her official website at magicbychloe.com. Chloe, thanks so much for joining us on CYInterview today. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's so nice to talk to you and get a chance to talk about what you've been up to over the last year. Over the last year, we've had on many of Las Vegas's great entertainers, and we're glad to have you on today because obviously you're one of them. What have you been up to, you and Colin, since the pandemic began and all the entertainment pretty much shut down in Vegas? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy and positive?
I mean, it's definitely been a crazy year, and I can't believe a year has already passed since this kind of all started. We were actually on tour. We were in, I think, Michigan, when everything started to lock down, and we were fortunate enough to just be able to hang out in a hotel for 2 days, get a flight home. I had like my 2 dogs with me. We managed to get a flight home, and then, we've kind of just been home ever since. So we were very lucky to at least, get home to our own house and not be stuck in like a different city or different country or whatever. But no, this year has been, I mean, like for many people, it's definitely been up and down. I'm not going to say it's been all, oh, what an amazing year. Like, it definitely hasn't been. But it's definitely given us a chance to just refocus. And obviously, all the shows in Vegas shut down, all the tours stopped. So obviously, work stopped for pretty much all entertainers. So just refocusing and being like, okay, what can we do? How can we still work? Like, when there's no theaters, like that's where we go when we want to do a show. Even for like street music, like that's, if you can't go out in the street, you can't be with people, like what do you do? So we started kind of learning the tech side of things and we didn't even know what Zoom was in like, this time last year. I didn't know what Zoom was. I didn't know what StreamYard was. Google Meets, all these different online platforms. We had no clue. And we had to learn very, very quickly how to run these, how to use these from home. Like, this isn't like when you go to a theater and you have a lighting guy and a stage manager and a tech guy and a sound guy, like all these people. I say guy in a very man or woman, that's not me being, they're always men, but you know what I mean. There's always someone that kind of do all these things for you. And we just didn't have that. And we were our own sound people, lighting, running all of our own tech, it was crazy. People, when do we ever have to do that as magicians? So we learned very quickly. Luckily, we have a lot of friends who do a lot of online gaming. So that really helped us out because that's pretty much the closest thing to what we're doing right now. Because obviously, people that work for big corporations or even, companies use, I think, like Google Meet and Zoom anyway. But obviously for us, it's not something we would ever do, and if we have to do a meeting or something or, you FaceTime, it's more relaxed, I feel like, in entertainment. So a lot of learning, a lot of things we never thought we'd have to do, shoot, because we couldn't even bring in like photographers to shoot, promo material or anything like that. So we literally learned to be our own photographers, editors. I designed my own website last year. I learned how to run a Zoom show, like how to build, create videos. Like it's pretty nuts, the things that we've had to learn to do in the past year. But it's, it gives me definitely a great appreciation for the people that do this as their, this is their job. Because it was a lot of work. But it was a lot of fun. Like, Colin he does a lot of like corporate shows, and then I created my online show just recently. I kind of left it for a while because I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do. Like, I love live entertainment, and it's hard when you have to adapt to talking to a screen. It's such a weird thing. But so we both have our own like Zoom shows, I guess, online shows, and then he does stuff for corporate as well. But a lot of gigs that we were meant to fly and do, now we're doing them from our offices at home. So big changes for us.
Jay. Chloe, I've followed your career, and I just have to say I see a streaming series here based on you. I mean, what you've been able to accomplish in a short period of time is remarkable. I'd love you to talk about your trajectory, but you start out at a very early age, studying dance, and you put a lot of time into dance. You eventually get to Las Vegas. You're in Las Vegas, and you start out dancing, and then you're a showgirl, and you are a magician's assistant, and then something inside of you says, at least the way I take it, wait a minute, I want to be the magician. I'm going to do this. And you do it. And the trajectory has been remarkable. I wonder if you could take us through a little bit of your story.
Sure. You're almost pretty much spot on with it. But yeah, no, I did grow up dancing. That was always what I wanted to do when I was I think I was 3 or 4 years old. I saw a magazine on a coffee table somewhere. I couldn't even tell you where it was. And it had a picture of the lead ballerina in Swan Lake. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, that's what I'm going to be when I grow up. That is it. So I started going to dance lessons, once a week. And then by the time I was 5, I did my first show. You go to a dance school and usually they do a yearly show for all the moms and then also to just, regular audience, whoever wants to buy tickets. So the first show I did was when I was 5 and it was for about 2,000 people, so I've kind of been used to that growing up. So getting on stage in front of thousands of people doesn't bother me. That really doesn't, it's not a thing I get that nervous about. When it's more like one-on-one or you can see people's faces, it's a more intimate audience, that is way more nerve-wracking for me because, the more people you kind of just, it's just people then, you don't really see faces or expressions and things like that. But yeah, so I grew up dancing and then I always loved magic when I was younger. I can remember whenever I would stay at my nan and granddad's house, they'd find these magic specials on TV. And it wasn't even me asking. It wasn't me saying, oh, I want to watch magic. We'd just find these things on TV. Back in the day when there weren't as many channels and long time ago. But yeah, and I'd watch The Masked Magician and Secrets Revealed, which I know a lot of magicians, they hate these shows. But for me as a kid, I was just blown away. I loved finding out how the tricks were done, and I wasn't really into, this sounds quite bad, but I wasn't really into the magician. I was more into the girls. I was like, oh my gosh, these girls, because they were dancers as well. I was like, oh my God, these girls are beautiful and they do all these crazy things because they're teaching you how the magic works. You see all the work that they put into it. So I had a lot more respect for them and their hard work. And I was like, oh, that would be cool. And then I carried on dancing. I toured. I traveled the world dancing. And then I came to Vegas for the first time. I think I was 20 years old. And I saw loads of shows here. And I was like, oh, gosh, this is cool. And I never really in my life had I want to perform on Broadway or I want to perform in the West End or I want to perform in Vegas. I never had that. I just was happy dancing wherever I could dance. I just couldn't believe that I was making money doing something that I loved to do. I was, so young and a little naive and just was loving my work. And then I came here and I was like, oh, this would be cool. And then literally one day just went, you know what? I'm just going to move to Vegas. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? I don't find work, I don't get into a show, and I go home. Whatever, okay, I move back. It's not a big deal. It's a flight there and a flight back. So I ended up moving, and I auditioned for a couple of shows in town and got offered every show I auditioned for, which I was like, okay, that's good, I guess. I had no idea what they were looking for here. It was so different to auditions I'd done in the past. And I ended up going into the show Fantasy, which was at the Luxor, well, is still at the Luxor Hotel. And was in that show for a few years, and that's kind of when I started seeing a lot of magicians on the Strip. There were so many magic shows, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, why is there no women? I knew there were female magicians, but I was like, why are there no female magicians with shows? And I hate saying female magicians, but it's easier to say that, so you know what I'm talking about. But there weren't any women doing shows, and I couldn't understand that. I was like, hold on, there has to be a reason. That, we have, women are doctors and women are, all these other things that men only used to be. How are we not catching up in magic? And then when you look into it, you find people online, obviously on Instagram and stuff. It's so much easier to find people now. And I was like, you know what? I really loved magic when I was younger. Maybe I'll just learn a few things. I'll put out a few YouTube videos. And it was all very, it was kind of a hobby. It was for fun. And then I got a Facebook message, of all places, which is so random to me, originally from America's Got Talent, asking me to do the show. They're like, oh, we saw some clips, like, we'd love you to come on the show. And I'm like, I'm not going to do AGT. Like, I've done very little magic live. Like, I'm not ready to do a show like that, and I turned them down. And then a couple of months later, I got a call from Britain's Got Talent. And I was like, whoa, what is going on this year? And they're like, oh, you come on and do the show. And I was like, I really don't know. And they're like, no, we'd really like a woman to come on the show and do magic. And I was like, well, let me think about it, and let me think about what I would actually do. Because this isn't just doing a few tricks at home. This is now a big TV show. It's a big platform. So I was like, give me a day. So I went away. I wrote all these ideas. I did all this research. And I was like, oh, my gosh, like, this has to be massive. And in my eyes, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go on. Maybe I'll do one round. I'll get a good video clip out of it, whatever. So I pitched an idea. I couldn't believe they said yes. And I was like, oh, my gosh, I got to get this massive illusion built and all this stuff. And I had a great team behind me, which really helped. Like, it definitely wasn't just me. And, yeah, did the show, got to the semifinals. I was the first female magician to ever get to the semifinals, to even get through the first round. So that was amazing. And then after that, sorry, this story it's a long story. And then I came back to Vegas, and I went back to doing fantasy, and I was like, yes, I love dancing, but it's not enough anymore. Like, I've toured, I've done shows all over the world. I've been, I did the Vegas thing. I was on the billboard and the post chips and the playing card and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, what's the next step? Because dancing's not going to take me any further than here now. I've peaked in this field. What can I do with magic? And I left the show, and I was like, okay, magic full time now. How do I even do this? What do you do when you're a magician full time? And I got fortunate enough to meet Chris Angel, and he was putting out a show called The Supernaturalist. And he was like, yeah, I need a girl. The girl that's in the show now is injured. I need someone to jump in. I literally had 3 weeks to learn a 20-minute act. And I was like, okay, I mean, I can learn a 2-hour dance show in a week. I'm sure I can do this. And I did. And then within a couple of weeks, I was touring with them, which was amazing. This was like massive production and pyrotechnics and like stuff I couldn't have even imagined doing. So that was amazing. And then I ended up working with Cirque du Soleil in the show at the Luxor, funnily enough, back at the Luxor. And I did a show there for a couple of years, and then went on to do Illusionist on Broadway. And, I hate to say I'm really lucky, but I think when I put my mind to something, like, that's all that is in sight. Like, I wanted to do Illusionist on Broadway, so I drove myself to LA. I got myself a meeting with Simon Painter, who runs the works that owns The Illusionist. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I was like, I don't care what act it is, but I'm going to be in the show. And fortunately, he was like, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? And we made it happen. And it's just, sometimes I don't really believe it, because I'm like, I can't believe that whatever I said in the room or whatever I did, magic-wise, it paid off. It was, but maybe it was just, having the balls to do it and go in there and say, this is what I want. This is what this is my look. This is my vibe. This is the style I like. And I think that kind of helped me stand out. I wasn't, I wasn't one of those women in magic that wanted to look like a guy. I didn't want to dress in a suit. I wanted to be feminine, and I wanted it to be a bit sexy, but still family friendly. And yeah, I think that paid off, luckily. Sorry, that was a really long story, so I thought I'd
No, but you know what? I think it shows part of why you've been so successful, because you're able to lay out a narrative, and you're able to capture the attention of the people listening, and I know you're able to capture the attention of people viewing your magic or when you're dancing or what have you. Have you given any thought to a streaming series based on what you've accomplished? I think what a phenomenal story. I mean, you're originally from the United Kingdom, correct?
I am. I'm from a naval town called Portsmouth. It's not a small town in any way, but you know, compared to, well, anywhere is small compared to America. But yeah, I always, you know, I left when I was 17. I went to college and stuff in the UK, and then I was like, okay, I'm off. I'm going to go tour, and I'm going to, you know, make it happen, whatever that means. Like, and I kind of was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, to be honest. I didn't know what I was doing. I was, you know, I was a kid. But it definitely paid off. Like, it's shocking when you just put your mind to something and you go after it and you push. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I went to auditions and I got, you know, kicked out the first round. Like, the thing when you're a dancer is, if you're too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too, like, there's always something. There, you know, it's just, you've got the wrong hair color, you know, you're not the right look for whatever reason, that you are judged very much on that as a dancer, because sometimes they want you to all look the same. They don't want anyone to stand out. What's great about magic, especially being like a solo performer, is I can look how I want. I can, you know, I used to be a blonde. I now have every color under the sun in my hair. Like, I can switch that up. I can grow as a performer and grow my look and be who I want to be now, which I prefer. You know, when you're a dancer, you're told what to do. This is your choreography. This is what you're going to wear. This is how you're going to do the piece. But now I can be a lot freer. I can create what I want. I can pull from my background and put that into my work, which I love. It's kind of like a writer. A writer will pull from their experience when they write. It's similar to that. I've never really thought about a streaming series or anything like that. Like, you know, obviously everything's changing now. Like, I don't even watch TV. Everything is via Netflix or Hulu. You know, it's all streaming stuff. And I've watched, you know, some magic on there, but it's all, for me, been quite the same. It's, you know, it's street magic, or, you know, people on the street doing magic, or I don't know, there's not been anything in quite a long time that for me has stood out and been different and been, I don't know, maybe a bit more reality-based. Not that I think that we need a Kardashians meets magic type thing, but just something a bit more real. But, you know, it's just, for me, TV is not, like, it's great. It's a great platform. BGT was a great platform. So shows like AGT and all these other shows like that. It's great to promote. But for me, it's just not the time. I'm so, like, invested in, well, right now, working on my online show and also working on a live show for when the world opens back up. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I don't know. You never know. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, I hear you. You certainly have energy and focus and talent and a certain level of effervescence, which I think helps to round out everything. And you're just a very easy guest to have on CYInterview, because it's you know, you really lay your story out there. No, it's very powerful, very intriguing, and very interesting. For those of our listeners, you know, you mentioned Fantasy, which of course is, I believe, produced by the renowned Anita Mann, and I think, who is it? Yeah. Mandy Moore does the choreography over there at Fantasy now. Yeah. You know, CYInterview is Las Vegas based. We've had, Chris, I want to say just about every act on and every female review and male review and magicians and everybody. And I have to tell you, Chloe, you were fascinating, and I think you're a credit not simply to magic and entertainment in Las Vegas, but I think your story can serve as very inspirational to women to realize that you set your mind to do something, and even if it hasn't been done before, well, by goodness, you can do it. So we're very thankful to have had you on. Love to have you come back, because got so many questions for you. But I'm sure we'll have to have a part 2 and part 3. Chris?
In closing, Chloe, why don't you tell everybody about magicbychloe.com before we let you go?
Of course, yeah. So that's my website, Magic by Chloe. I just did my first Zoom show, online show a little while ago called Betwitched. The reason being, I loved the TV show Bewitched when I was growing up, and I like that kind of magic style. It feels kind of the most natural to me because it's with things that are around your home. I'm not a card magician, so I like to do things that feel more organic. And obviously Twitch is an online gaming platform, so I mix the show between magic and games, because I love playing online games with my family because they're still in the UK. So I try to mix that all together to do an online show. So yeah, you can check that out. Like my Instagram is like at Chloe L. Crawford, and I post on there all the time. I think more stuff of my dogs than of me, but still, it's good content. And yeah, Magic by Chloe for upcoming shows.
That's fabulous. So for magician, Las Vegas-based entertainer Chloe Crawford, featured columnist Jade Feldstein, and CYInterview, I'm Christian.